We are on a week later after the whole Summer Game Fest whole weekend, main weekend, and for IO Interactive, in terms of not being releasing self-made games, this week serves as the debut of them serving as a publisher for a game known as MindsEye. And MindsEye is actually a game developed by a company or a studio named Build a Rocket Boy, which is a studio based in Edinburgh, in Scotland. And the game has the highlight that includes Leslie Benzies as part of his roster, if you will. And for those who doesn't know who Leslie Benzies is, he's the former Rockstar Games or Rockstar North president, which he also worked in a lot of Grand Theft Auto games. And there was high expectations, not only because this is a first serious AAA game. This is the first attempt of IO Interactive going full as a publisher, meaning that they don't develop the game, but they splash their IO Interactive logo to serve as a publishing, and of course, having some part of the revenue that the game does might receive during his launch back in June 10th, 2025. But something happened, something that is unfortunately kind of a normal things in these days that gaming developer or gaming development, I should say, is not as a feasible thing and a complete success in the first try. And that has been kind of a uncomfortable thing that we have been observing with many games. And it's kind of part of part Cyberpunk 2077 launch and the day before launch. So before getting into what happened, let's do some quick overview about Man's Eye. Man's Eye is a 2025 action adventure game developed by Build a Rocket Boy, and like I said, it's published by IO Interactive. It released on PlayStation 5, PC, and the Xbox Series S and X back in June 10. Take a linear third-person action adventure game that includes a pseudo open world similar like the Mafia games, specifically the first Mafia game, and you're part of what is called Red Rock City, and this is the first game that it makes its or its concept comes from what is called Everywhere, which is upcoming massively multiplayer online game and gaming platform that has a system for game creation, or in better speaking, a sandbox, which is also developed by Build a Rocket Boy. So takes Man Size as his first product of this multi-platform game creation system, aka sandbox. The premise of the game is that you assume the control of Jacob Diaz, a former soldier with a mysterious neural implant known as the Man's Eye. Suffering from memory loss and flashback, he heads toward the fictional desert metropolis of Red Dogs, based on Las Vegas, where he aims to discover the secret behind his implants. Sounds good so far. And like I said, Leslie Benzies serves as the writer of the story. He serves as the director of the game. So you could expect that the game release or launch should go uh, flawless, or at minimum with just needing a quick day one patch. But the reality is that troubles were just mounting on since day one. Some early reports from early adopters of the game just noticed how much of a buggy the game is, with non-playable characters behaving strangely, characters kind of melting like a freaking clay disaster of mixing in just by running them over or getting closer to them, with also more illogical things that you would expect for a game that is supposed to have like a good programming and also better AI than it was actually promoted since a long time ago. And IO Interactive went ahead and included MindsEye as part of the Summer Game Fest weekend, which um, one can say that if you don't really read the story that this is not an IO Interactive game, but a published game by them, then maybe IO Interactive kind of have like a space of concern if this is going to taint all the IO Interactive publishing efforts. So, with that being said, the reception has been kind of unfavorable. Of course, the game released in a state that doesn't look like it's finished, and there was a lot of cleanup to do, and somebody in the quality assurance part of the game really did the failure. The situation went so bad that while it is kind of a mix of the day before and Cyberpunk 2077 issue, this is one of the few times that you will hear PlayStation refunding players even after going ahead on the normal terms that you can be granted a refund for playing a game. Well, PlayStation didn't want to go risk something for a thing that they don't have control, and players requesting, of course, refund that were granted. Kind of a recall back from 2020 and early 2021 with the release of Cyberpunk 2077. And the weird thing is that Build a Rocket Boy co CEO have his own theory on the reaction of the game. And for this guy saying that, I'm trying to look of his name in my notes while I'm talking about this. And it's kind of interesting that a game that is being labeled as a broken mess filled with bugs and enemy encounters that lack of depth. Mark Gerard, I found his name on his note, on my note, I should say. He responded to a question if he believes that all the people who reacted negatively were financed by someone. He replied that 100%. And there has this theory that, yeah, with the Leslie Benzi is being involved in the game as a director and writer. There has been kind of a speculation that Rockstar Game they wanted to uh, have the risks, if you will, of having MindsEye competing with Grand Theft Auto 6, just in case that MindsEye is resulting in yet another surprising release game for 2025, which this wasn't the case. But to go ahead and responding, and actually this wasn't the Discord server, that Mark General responded that he believed 100% that he believes that this is a smear campaign just to have the game being on a negative spotlight. The thing is that it is all well documented. I haven't tried the game, but I have also, you can see other channels and live streams and taking in context that at last minute, Build a Rocket Boy canceled their release day special streaming through, I believe it was Twitch, and taking in context that they didn't share review copies or review codes for the digital version for outlets to try it out. They gave away codes for content creators and gaming uh, influencers, if you will. Uh, I think that that kills, and if not kills, damage a lot the scenario where there's a smear campaign behind the doors with people with bad faith on Build a Rockets Boys and Man's Eye. it's kind of sad that we're seeing this nowadays. Gaming development, instead of being more feasible and easy, it has its challenges, and it has its challenges because we already reached to a peak that gaming development can reach, and the industry just forced to have yet another peak on gaming development. And I think that gaming development has become so powerful that no studios had managed to control or harness this power. I mean, if you hear nowadays that Unreal Engine can keep keep it up with new tools and new boundaries, and Unity followed by, and the universe of gaming engines also following by, is that the industry doesn't want a peak. They just want to keep growing gaming development, and this is kind of the challenges that goes along with it. And the economic perspective of outsources QA company trying to harness as much contrast as they can. And I'm taking this as an example for Cyberpunk 2077, which was documented that the game's initial problems that launched in the end of 2020, it was a mix of CD Projekt Red becoming kind of uh, a victim of its self arrogance and trusting too much to outsourcers QA. I remember covering that a few years ago when I was the blogger for the now retired social media for gamers GGS TV, and that was it's kind of a fascinating that 5 years later we are seeing the same scenario. Honestly, I hope that MindsEye gets better. Uh, this has prompted me as a consumer and gamer to really wait out and see. I'm trying to give some faith on the game, but I'm not risking investing in the game like I did with Cyberpunk 2077. Uh, the case of Cyberpunk was interesting because the game launched simultaneously on PC, consoles, and Google Stadia. And the version that I actually pre-ordered was the Google Stadia, and PC and Google Stadia was the actual place to have like the less problems or less bug version of Cyberpunk 27 was Stadia and PC version. Unfortunately, MindsEye didn't have this kind of a situation because even PC version presented troubles. But I do hope that Build the Rockets Boy have already gathered lesson learns and hoping that the game get to a better state. By the recording of this, they already launched some patches and they announced that were disappointed and apologized for the initial experience that gamers had. But I just hope that they fix the game, and the sooner the better.